兄様。あーん。
あーん。
はい、お兄様。あーん。
あーん。
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 Hello everyone, Hezu here, and I'm here to talk about Revolutionary Girl Utena, a very special action magical girl anime on the surface, but a complete insane asylum horny acid trip underneath. I come bearing what you would call spoilers, but to me, it's a warning. This anime is an endless rabbit hole of chaotic, nonsensical insanity with lesbians and shirtless men that needs to be dissected. To the hardcore fans watching this, sorry to say, but I've only seen the anime and movie, so any alternate works potentially explaining some of the metaphors or analytical references are lost to me. I'm going in blind. Usually, if an anime is good, I look into its manga or novel material for further answers if it's left on a cliffhanger. With this one, I went in with some great hopes and expectations, but the show went off the deep end, and I couldn't even fathom what was happening anymore to be upset about it. Without further ado, let's dive into Revolutionary Girl Utena and see if it's really achieved its revolution, whatever it was. Once upon a time, there was a little princess named Utena. Just kidding, she's not a princess. She's actually a totally normal girl whose parents died. You don't find this out until episodes later down the road. The girl was visited by a prince, Prince Dios. Was he a real prince? Hell if I know. They say he showed the girl something eternal, which inspired her to continue on with her life. He thought her show of resolve was noble, so he gave her a ring. The wacky, distracting narrators tease that it was an engagement ring, which is really weird because we are talking about children here. But this is 1900s anime, so whatever. He said the ring will bring her to him in the future so she may find him again if she needs him. Instead of swooning over this prince, Utena becomes inspired to become a prince-like figure herself. Years later, Utena is now in her teens. She's a popular tomboy at school who has both boys and girls crushing on her. She has a spunky, supportive friend named Wakaba. She's sometimes judged for her lack of femininity, but she is adamant but respectful about her choice of clothing and attitude. She's non-traditional and strange, which makes her character arc a fun one to follow. It's intriguing and very promising for the future of the story. I'm immediately hooked. But this is where it gets weird. Utena comes across a girl named Anthy Himemiya. She's a quiet, submissive, feminine girl who tends to the garden's roses. Utena notices her being abused by her boyfriend and steps in to protect her. Turns out there's some kind of strange fight club at the school. Winner gets the girl. And the girl has an ancient and powerful sword hidden within her soul that you now have access to when you're head of the fight club. Said girl is now the ultimate waifu who has to be obedient to her spouse, aka the winner of the duel. Anthy has basically passed around this group like a hot potato. Okay. Weird, but okay. And of course, Anthy has a weird mascot monkey with a pierced ear that acts as comic relief. Why not? Now, this is pretty interesting and all, but, is no one going to mention the giant fucking upside-down castle floating in the sky above their arena? Does no one see that? No one's gonna question why the entire school's budget went into building the dueling arena either? Or why Utena gets possessed by Prince Dios with every fight? Or how every single person at the Sword Fight Club magically knows how to fight, half of them having no prior experience? Speaking of the Fight Club, they've got a set of members and a set of rules. Rule number 1 of Fight Club, you don't talk about Fight Club. Rule number 2, bring a sword. And rule number 3, abuse Anthy. And rule 4, you must have been hit on by the prince at some point in your life to get an engagement ring from him to fight for the right to marry his sister. With all these rules in mind, let's introduce you to our duelists. We've got e-girl tomboy and her girlfriend wet cardboard, Sailor Mercury but male, onion rings, smelly seaweed, Knuckles the echidna if he was horny, and his sister Regina George from Mean Girls. There's a mess of characters aside from these duelists that have some sort of involvement in the story as well, but I'll get to them later. The school is so utterly normal outside of everything else. It's kind of culture shock. But so far, not terrible. I'm sure things will be explained in due time, and the fight scenes are pretty wicked. The anime is old and nostalgic too, a great, mesmerizing style to keep your interest regardless of the... Wait, who is that? Okay, so we've got 2 new characters for season 2. We've got a white-haired character, so you just know he's probably gonna die or already dead. And we've got some kid who looks suspiciously like Prince Dios and Rose Bride Anthe. Alright, folks, place your bets, Who is this kid? Is it A, Prince Dios, B, their sibling, or C, their secret love child? Which is the true answer? Find out next on Betting with Hezu. So Snow White here is basically a plot device for the 2nd season. The writers are trying to stretch this show's movie-length plot into a 3-season set, and they realize there's absolutely no way in hell they could accomplish that with only 5 duelists. So this was their way of having some of the normal students fight. They aren't fighting for Anthe's hand, however. They're fighting to take off her hand. Yeah, they want to kill her. Why? 'Cause Snow White wants to make Mystery Kid the new Rose Bride. Why?
Why?
That is a question that I don't think I'll ever have the answer to. Anyway, we have an entire season of Whitey here interviewing students and turning them into duelists. Weird thing that gets revealed here is that apparently Anthe isn't the only one who can pull a sword out of her chest. I won't lie, that's pretty wicked to know you can birth swords out of your chest cavity in this world. But it's not really explained. I guess swords are kind of like crystals, they just grow in you. I don't get it, but it's wicked cool. There's a lot of repetitive battles, and for some odd reason the battlefield is constantly cluttered with student desks, which I'll explain in a second. After a whole 10+ episodes of weirdness, it's finally revealed who this prince-looking character actually is. Alright folks, step right up, let's review our answers. Is he A, Prince Dios, B, their sibling, or C, their secret love child? The answer is D, none of the above. Yeah, he's not real. His name is Mamiya Cheetah, and this is what he actually looks like. He's just a normal kid with freckles. Also, he's dead. The entire facility Whitehair has been working in this entire time was non-existent. Freckles here is the one who burnt it down. See, he was gravely ill. Death was inevitable for him. But Whitehair wanted to research a cure or some kind of eternity or immortality for him. But Freckles didn't want it, so he decided to burn all the research along with 100 students who got trapped in the building. So Pyromaniac here was just an illusion this entire time. Is Whitehair dead? What becomes of him after this is revealed? Was he in a romantic relationship with Freckles or his sister or both? Why was Freckles disguised as young Prince Dios? Did Accio have something to do with this? Will this anime ever tell us what the fuck is going on? Alright, hang on. Let's backtrack before I get into season 3. Anthe Himamiya's character is all over the place in terms of writing. In the first season, everyone is always pushing that Anthe is a lifeless doll, and in hindsight, they're right. She has a personality akin to that of wet cardboard. But there are moments where she shows that she's more than a puppet. This is even more prominent in season 3. She and Utena have some weird sort of fight going on between them when Utena gets too close to her brother. She tries to end her own life out of guilt, but Utena stops her. What were they fighting about? Oh boy. Here we go, folks. You're not ready for this. They were fighting because they were sleeping with Akio. Yeah. Utena was crushing on Akio, so Anthe apparently slept with her own brother to upset Utena because of her jealousy? But I think the writers forgot that Anthe has been sleeping with her brother long before Utena and Akio had any sort of dubious consent relationship. Not to mention, even after Utena found out Anthe was sleeping with her brother, Utena stays with Akio anyway. She's well aware he has a fiancé too, by the way. While we're on the topic of sharing beds, this show's romantic plotline diagram is the most insane one I have ever seen. Buckle up, adults, and click off, kids. This section ain't pretty. Utena is engaged to Anthe, but has slept with Akio. Akio is engaged to the principal's daughter Kanae, but is sleeping with Utena, Anthe, and his mother-in-law, probably Wakaba, and Mamiya's sister. But that was a dream, so I don't know if she's real or not. And pretty much every other woman he comes in contact with. Anthe is engaged to Utena, but slept with Akio too, or anyone else that had temporary control over her as the Rose Bride during duels. All duelists are fighting for Anthe's hand, though only two of them actually have crushes on her, Sailor Mercury and Seaweed. Sailor Mercury is only rebounding because Anthe reminds him of his younger sister when she used to play piano and wasn't a bitch. So we've got another incest line now. Mercury's sister Bluebird is actually fucking Knuckles behind Mercury's back and is constantly switching boyfriends like they're just her toys. So we've got another member of the bitch club. Knuckles the Echidna also has a major crush on Utena, but is part of a massive playboy role, so he basically fucks every woman in the entire school. Also, in the movie, Knuckles was sexually assaulted by his father in a Cabbage Patch. What do I do with this information? What does this add to the story? Hello? Am I on drugs?
いいね、baby. 俺のハートに火をつけたぜ。
His sister Regina has an incestual crush on her brother, who is constantly attempting to sabotage the women close to him, which includes a cat that she drowned in a river because it was spending too much time with her brother. Yeah, Regina murdered a cat out of jealousy. Much to her despair, later on, she finds out that her own friend is also infatuated with Knuckles and receives attention back from him, which she finds unfair. That friend better watch her fucking back because they'll find her body floating in the ocean next to Kitty Cat someday. Regina has a team of boys crushing on her, along with a grade school kid which they play off as a sister complex. The two are luckily not related, but it's now crossed into pedophilia territory, so if you weren't concerned before, you should be now. Onion Rings here has, luckily, a somewhat simplistic love triangle going on. She's in love with Raspberry Bitch. Raspberry's in love with the fencing captain, and the fencing captain was probably in love with Onion Rings. Unfortunately, Onion had to fall in love with a homophobic bitch that constantly derates her. In the movie, Raspberry is even hinted to be sleeping with Knuckles, and in the anime, fucks Sonic in a car for some reason. I don't know what the heck her goal is anymore. Sonic the Hedgehog comes in out of nowhere for an episode. He dumps Raspberry for Onion Rings and forces himself on Onion Rings to steal her necklace. I don't know. I give up. I give up. Utena's friend Wakaba is crushing on Seaweed and even considers imprisoning him in her apartment at some point so he'd fall in love with her, as a form of Stockholm Syndrome. But her way better option childhood friend, who she's been leading on, is genuinely in love with her. But the relationship never goes anywhere because the anime hates us and wants to make us suffer. But why should all the straights have all the fun? Yeah, that's right. Akio isn't just fucking women. He's also potentially sleeping with Knuckles and Seaweed and apparently has a kink for cars and cameras. Mercury's sister Bluebird also attempts seducing Anthe. Everyone in this show is an asshole. No one is pure. Everyone is fucking each other. And I am so very tired. Now that that's out of the way, let's get to the final season. Now this anime goes full-on mecha car show.
我らと共に誘おう君が望む世界へ
もしもしさあドライブの時間だ
I mean a literal car show. We've got endless recycled scenes of students being taken on joyrides by Nasty Man here, who proceeds to abandon them by flopping sexily onto the hood of his car.
世界の果てを見せてあげよう君にもね
After these incidents, they're all able to summon their swords to fight Utena and Anthe once more. I think Nasty Man took them somewhere and showed them something special. Now, I can't even begin to comprehend why cars come into play in the third season, or why Utena straight up turns into a car in the movie. There's literally no explanation for this. No, don't tell me this is some metaphor for how relationships are like a ride or some shit. No, this is straight up nonsense. There's a couple of phrases often repeated throughout each episode. End of the world and revolutionizing the world. What do these mean? As far as I'm concerned, Utena is already revolutionary. She's introducing young teen girls to their inner lesbian, challenging gender roles, sexuality, and stereotypes. I mean, a badass sword is merely the cherry on top, really. She's already got the whole cake baked out. Okay. We're finally near the end of the season, and ironically, the show spoiled its entire plot in one episode performed by the narrators. Akio and Prince Dios are actually the same person. Yeah, this charming cutie turned into this asshole. How? Good question. So apparently Dios is, I guess, a real prince. AKA the only form of law enforcement that acts as first response to the kidnapping or emotional support to women. First of all, who the fuck is kidnapping all these girls or torturing them? Is there some kind of trafficking going on or some shit? What is going on? This dude ain't even an adult. He's a kid. So are the men just left to die then? Where's their royal prince? That's messed up. Prince Dios, as apparently the only form of police force, exhausted and injured himself in his attempts to save these girls. His sister, Princess Anthe, hid him away from a random mob of people representing humanity who are too lazy to go find and help their daughters themselves. They got pissed off and called her a witch and murdered her to get to the prince. Anthe and Dios, or in this case now Akio, are, I guess, immortal. Anthe became a shell of herself whose soul is constantly being stabbed by swords, and Akio became a shell of himself by simply corroding into a playboy who doesn't actually give a shit about the women he cares for and is sort of sexist about his views on them too.
All women are queens. If she breathes, she's a thought!
Akio is considered the end of the world, who manipulates Utena to becoming his bride or something. But Utena now remembers the eternal thing Akio showed her all those years ago to keep her going. She saw Anthe being tortured by the swords of humanity for all eternity. Utena felt such despair for this girl that she claimed she would become a prince to save her. So Anthe was really the one who inspired Utena all along. She was the reason Utena kept living so she could save her. As to how she forgot such a gruesome and important sight is beyond me. Utena now tries to stop Akio from whatever he was going to do and save Anthy. But then we see Anthy pull this bullshit.
どうしてあなたは私が好きだった頃のディオスに似ている。でもあなたは私の王子様にはなれない女の子だから。
You can't marry me? You're a girl? Okay, excuse me, Anthy. Why did you let Utena fight for you in the first place? Why did you let onion rings fight for you? What about all the moments and even jealousy you had with Utena the past few episodes? This anime portrays a lesbian, or technically a bi romance, between these two so much, and Anthy just does a 180 and denies it, despite her compellment she had towards Utena in the early episodes? What? What is this dumb shock value? Utena then, in a very interesting and beautiful way, is able to save Anthy from her coffin and release her from humanity's torture.
ミヤ、君は知らないんだ。君と一緒にいることで僕がどれだけ幸せだったか。ミヤ、やっと会えた。ウテナ様、早く手を。いつか一緒に。
But Utena, much like Prince Akio, ended up sacrificing herself in the process. She didn't become the new Rose Bride, however. That was all Akio's ploy. Utena simply disappears from their world. The anime ends with a now free Anthy Himemiya happily going off into the world to search for her beloved betrothed. And the series ends forever. If any of you claim to know what the hell is going on in this anime, you're lying. Before we move on, we still have the movie to review. The movie carries on much the same, but Anthy has a different look and personality, and so does Utena. Utena and Knuckles, aka Toga, were heavily implied to be in a romantic relationship. See, they were childhood friends, but it turns out that he straight up died? Toga drowned in his attempts to save a girl struggling to swim in a lake. So how is he here? Is he just a memory? Why are memories allowed to become real in this universe? I gotta say though, this scene where Utena had to watch as water filled his end of the room and washed Toga away, I don't know what the heck was going on, but I was in tears. This scene might actually explain some things from the anime. The whole drowning a cat in the stream, the whole disappearance of Toga near the end. Wait, so he's been dead this whole time, right? Yeah, hi, can we add necrophilia to this list? Please? Thank you. Akio appears more charming in this movie.
Oh, it's acting headmaster Akio. Oh.
Ciao.
This must be back when he just got engaged to the headmaster's daughter. He's such a textbook example of a prince. So young, yet competent and kind, and has great looks.
Thank you, but you flatter me. Ciao.
Until later, we find out he literally drugs his sister Anthy and forces himself on her every so often. turns out Anthe knows all about it and is completely fine with being raped, which leads to Akio going crazy. He stabs her and then drunkenly kills himself. So again, another memory that appeared live, but was actually just some dead dude all along. And of course, we get the car show all over again. Except this time, Utena goes full Transformer. You ever heard of a magical girl anime where the shoujo turns into a straight up car? Yeah, me neither.
Utena? Is that you?
But oh no! We have a contender racing to the finish line! Who could it be? None other than Raspberry Bitch, who gives us the line delivery of the century.
Are you surprised? It's a big mistake to think you're the only one who can turn into a car. I'm a car now, too.
What the fuck is going on? Help! What the fuck is going on? Anyhow, Anthe and Utena escape that cursed world and head into a new one. The outside world, they call it. Naked, I might add. There's a lot of nakedness in this movie. This franchise has so much symbolism and gorgeous scenery that I can't hate it, but there's a lot of nonsense mixed in here. The student council background scenery is absolute bananas too. I mean, look at this. They're all so serious, but then they activate shit like this, and I am crying on the floor. Don't even get me started on the full-scale filler episodes. Here. This is an episode synopsis. One episode. Nanami receives a golden cowbell. Thinking that it's expensive designer jewelry, she wears it everywhere until she begins to turn into a cow.
I can't believe you haven't figured out what that thing around your neck really is.
Moo! Well, obviously it's a Sebastian Dior cowbell, of course.
That's right, a cowbell, as in a bell that a cow wears around its neck.
What are you talking about?
Take a good look around you.
Huh? Huh? You mean my royal family Sebastian Dior bell is?
Not Sebastian Dior, Nanami. Caustian Dior.
I can't seem to think clearly anymore. Am I having delusions? Do I need my appendix removed? Bring me a blanket, someone, and soon.
Nanami's lost it.
Moo! Moo!
What happened to Nanami? Oh my!
Oh no, Nanami!
Like, I've got nothing for this. What the hell is going on? How high were these riders? Also, what was the revolution? That homosexual marriage becomes allowed? That the school finally spends its money on education instead of Akio's dumb fight club? That the princes always save princesses cliche is finally kicked to the curb? All of the above, maybe? I don't know. But this anime certainly revolutionized our world. It was one of the biggest inspirations for Steven Universe, after all. The anime is gorgeous, and I think people should check it out, but just be warned. It's like going through a car wash and not remembering you left your moonroof open.
Give me a rag, Drake, hurry up!
Well, that concludes this video. Thanks for watching. You know what to do, and have a great day.
Look, what would you think of a girl who lays eggs?
Nanami, why do you think we've been able to live so happily together? We have been happy together because you are a girl who doesn't lay eggs. Pity the poor family of a girl who would dishonor them by doing something so shameful.